There are 10,000 ways to die in the 41st millennium, but only one way to truly live. To fight and keep fighting, no matter what claws at your flesh or screams in your mind. The storm began as a whisper. Fenris was always cruel, but this night the wind howled like a wounded god. Snow and lightning tore across the mountains, freezing the bones of any man foolish enough to wander alone. Yet in the heart of that tempest, something unnatural howled back. It was not of Fenris. It was not of this universe. The warp had convulsed, a tear in reality that bled energy like an open wound. A moment of experimental hubris in another realm, another cosmos, had broken the veil. For one heartbeat, the immaterium bridged worlds, and through that screaming rift fell a single man, his flesh torn, his skeleton aflame, his mind fractured by pain. He landed upon the glaciers of Asaheim with a sound that split the storm itself. The stranger rose slowly, steam hissing off his back as the storm battered him, naked, bleeding, unarmed, yet something in his eyes spoke of endless wars and centuries of killing. His claws, 3 blades of unbreakable metal, slid free from his hands with a metallic snick glinting against the lightning sky. Logan, Wolverine, Weapon X. Names he barely remembered now. He only knew survival. As the cold bit deep into his bones, he saw lights through the blizzard, torches, and figures moving with the rhythm of trained killers, Fenrisians. The tribesmen approached warily, carrying axes and spears tipped with frost. The leader shouted something in a language half buried in ice and fury. Logan didn't understand, but he understood posture, the way they squared their shoulders, the way their weapons were held. These weren't prey. These were hunters. He grinned through bloody teeth. About time. They charged. The first spear shattered against his ribs. The second man got close enough to lose an arm. Blood steamed on the snow. He fought like a wolf possessed, claws tearing through fur and armor, his body regenerating faster than any wound could fell him. But for every tribesman he cut down, more came, until a thunderous voice roared from the storm. Enough! The sound froze the blizzard. Through the whiteout came giants clad in ceramite, their armor carved with wolf skulls and runes of frost. Astartes, the Emperor's angels of death, the space wolves. Their leader stepped forward, a living mountain in gray power armor. His yellow eyes burned behind a scarred face, and a rune-etched frost axe rested on his shoulder. What manner of beast are you, that bleeds like a man, but heals like a daemon? Logan met his gaze and spat blood. You tell me, bub. The giant grinned. Good, you've got fangs. Let's see if you've got a soul. They bound him in runic chains of electrum and ferrite, hauled him aboard their thunderhawk, and carried him across the heavens. As the storm closed behind, the warp fissure sealed with a hiss, and the last trace of Earth's reality vanished. The journey to the Fang was a blur of metal corridors, wolf pelts, and the smell of machine oil. Logan said little. The wolves watched him like they might watch a wounded Fenrisian wolf. Cautious respect mingled with hunger. At one point, a wolf priest entered the cell, his skull helm gleaming in the red light. He pressed a vial of blood to a cogitator, muttering litanies to the Omnisia. Your humors are strange. No gene seed, no mutation we recognize, yet your cells, they fight to live. Every one of them screams defiance. "Story of my life," Logan muttered. The priest's helm tilted. "You have the heart of a Fenrisian, stranger, perhaps even the spirit of a son of Russ." Russ, a name stirred something primal, a wolf god, a king, a legend. As they descended into the Fang, the Space Wolves' fortress monastery carved deep into the mountains of Asaheim, the air grew warmer, filled with the distant howls of tamed beasts and the echo of warriors reciting sagas. The wolves debated his fate, mutant, Xenos, or something worth keeping. But it was the rune priest, graybeard and blind in one eye, who saw deeper. The warp did not send him by chance. He has crossed worlds for a reason. His fate runs with the pack now. So they offered him a choice, trial by ice and blood. Survive the rites of Fenris, the freezing rivers, the beasts, the bite of the wolfen curse, or die as another monster cast into the snow. Logan just grinned, baring his teeth like one of their own. "You want me to prove I'm a wolf? Fine. Let's see if your wolves bite harder than mine." In that moment, amid the smell of ozone and frost, a saga began. The wolves would call it the coming of the clawed one. Logan would call it just another bad day. But the galaxy would remember it as the day a legend crossed the stars and the Emperor gained a new kind of beast. The Fenrisian winter did not forgive weakness. The Space Wolves had seen countless champions perish in the trial of Morkai, yet none began as strangely as the one they called the Clawed One. Logan stood half-naked on the edge of the frozen sea, the storm screaming across the tundra. His breath came out in thick steam, his goons already closing as fast as the frost could bite. Around him stood the warriors of the rout, the Bloodclaws and Wolfguard, their armor adorned with pelts and runes, their eyes gleaming with curiosity and doubt. "Strip him of his pride," barked the wolf priest. "Let Fenris judge him as she would any beast." They hurled him into the freezing waters. The shock was instant, a spear of agony through his veins. Beneath the ice, shadows moved. Fenrisian krakens, great armored eels, even worse things with too many eyes. He fought them all, his claws flashing silver in the dark. Blood filled the water, his and theirs. He felt their teeth tear his flesh, then regrow, then tear again. He laughed. The sound bubbled through the water, savage and pure. When he finally crawled onto the ice hours later, dragging a dead serpent the size of a tank behind him, the wolves howled their approval. By Russ's beard, the beast thrives on the pain. The rune priest merely nodded. Pain is his teacher. Perhaps the Allfather sent him for a reason. Days passed. They made him fight in the pits against Fenrisian direwolves. They made him climb the cliffs of Krog bare-handed, while ice storms shredded his skin. He fell a dozen times. He got up a dozen more. Each trial stripped away the man who had fallen from another universe, the soldier, the mutant, the failed experiment, and left only the raw essence beneath, the warrior. Logan watched the wolves closely. He admired their discipline, their fierce loyalty, their laughter even in death's shadow. He reminded him of the soldiers he had once known, men who bled together, fought together, and never asked why. He began to feel something he hadn't in a long time, belonging. But belonging in the Imperium had a price. One night, as the aurora burned green across the sky, the wolf priest Einar led him into the caverns beneath the Fang. There the walls pulsed with runes of power, and the air hummed with ancient energy. Vials of gene seed floated in stasis, guarded by servo skulls and the whispered prayers of the Mechanicus. Einar's voice echoed in the gloom. Every son of Russ must take the gene of our Primarch. It binds the warrior's soul to the pack. But for you, he paused, your flesh rejects our augurs. Your blood denies our scans. This could kill you, or worse. Logan stared at the glowing vial. The liquid shimmered with golden fire. You think I scare easy? The priest smiled beneath his skull helm. Then kneel, warrior. Let us see if the wolf accepts you. They injected the gene seed into his spine. For an instant, nothing happened, and then came the pain. It wasn't just physical. His mind exploded with visions, forests burning, stars dying, a colossal figure with fangs of light and a mane of fire. He felt something ancient reach inside him, testing, measuring, claiming. The space wolves called it the Canis Helix, the gene that turned men into wolves. But Logan's healing factor resisted, twisted, rewove the code faster than it could take hold. His muscles swelled, his bones screamed, his claws burst from his knuckles in a rain of blood and steel. Then, blackness. He awoke in the Fang's infirmary, naked again, his hands still slick with drying blood. Around him stood the rune priest and Einar. He survived, the rune priest murmured, but something is different. Einar nodded. The Canis Helix did not remake him. It merged with him. He carries its fury without its curse. Logan sat up, his eyes glowing faint amber. You mean I passed your test? The rune priest chuckled. You didn't just pass it, stranger. You changed it. The wolf within you is no longer dormant. Logan glanced at his claws, now faintly luminescent, shimmering with psychic energy. He didn't understand the warp, but he could feel it breathing around him like a living thing. It wasn't his world anymore, but its savagery spoke to him. That night, the wolves gathered around a great fire pit within the Fang. They poured mjod, tore into roasted grox meat, and told sagas of ancient hunts. Logan joined them. His laughter, rough and broken, echoed with theirs. Tell us, Clawed One, shouted a blood claw named Score. Do the beasts of your world howl as loud as ours? Logan grinned, showing fangs of his own. They used to. I taught them. The hall erupted with laughter. But as the firelight danced, the rune priest's gaze lingered on the outsider. He saw the warp flicker around him, unstable, hungry, watching. The rift that had brought this man to Fenris might not be closed after all. And in that dark reflection, deep beneath the howling mountains, something stirred, something that smelled of blood and iron and endless rage. The wolf was not the only beast that had crossed the veil. They called it the beast within. The moment when the line between man and wolf blurred, when instinct drowned reason and the soul howled against its cage. Logan had begun to feel it. It started as whispers, echoes of Fenris's eternal hunger, voices in the wind that carried the scent of prey. His senses had sharpened beyond even his mutant heritage. He could smell fear, taste deceit, hear the flicker of a rune generator half a fortress away. But beneath it all, something darker prowled, a pulse that wasn't his own. The Canis Helix and his healing factor were fighting for dominance, rewriting each other in endless combat. And when Logan closed his eyes, he dreamed of claws tearing through ceramite, of golden eyes watching him on a battlefield of fire and ash. The rune priest, Ulfric Stormseer, stood beside him on the training field one morning as the storm winds rolled down from the peaks. Logan had just finished breaking a pair of servitor drones in half, a sparring exercise that ended in more wreckage than intended. "You not controlling it," Ulfric said. Logan wiped sweat and frost from his face. "You try controlling this thing when your blood feels like it's on fire." Ulfric's one good eye gleamed. "You think we do not know that pain? Every son of Russ bears the wolf within. The difference, stranger, is that we make it serve us." "Yeah? And what happens if it won't?" The priest's tone turned grim. "Then we put it down." For a long moment, the wind was the only sound. Then Logan smiled, a hard, thin smile. "Guess I'll just have to make it behave then, won't I?" Days turned to weeks. The wolves trained him relentlessly. They taught him the use of the bolt gun, the chainsword, the rites of maintenance for their war gear. He absorbed it all with predator's focus. His body healed faster than any Astartes, his instincts sharper, his reflexes uncanny. One evening, during a live fire drill, a bloodclaw slipped in the snow. His plasma pistol discharged, a volatile blast that could have cooked half the squad. Logan reacted without thought. He moved faster than even their auto senses could track, slamming into the bloodclaw, dragging him clear as the plasma vented in a roaring flash. When the smoke cleared, his back was a lattice of charred flesh. It healed in seconds. The wolves stared. Inar's voice broke the silence. "By Russ, he moves like the old legends." Even Ulfric nodded in grim approval. "He fights like one of the Wolfen, yet holds his mind." Logan shrugged off the pain and grinned. "Just doing my job." It was competence at its rawest, the kind of reflex that only a lifetime of war could forge. And for the first time, the wolves began to see him as one of their own. But Fenris had its own way of testing loyalty. One night, the fang trembled. A psychic warning rippled through the halls. Ulfric burst into the chamber, his runic staff blazing. "Something stirs in the warp," he growled. "A corruption, demonic spore near the northern reach." "Chaos?" Logan asked. "Worse," Ulfric replied. "A summoning, and the scent on it, it is the same as yours." Logan's eyes narrowed. "Meaning?" "The rift that brought you here, it bleeds still, and through it something follows." Within an hour, they were aboard a Stormfang gunship, streaking through the storm toward the Reach. Below, glaciers cracked and mountains groaned. The aurora pulsed red, bleeding like a wound in the heavens. Logan checked his gear, bolt pistol, chainsword, combat cloth. None of it felt as natural as his own steel. As they neared the site, the auspex screamed, reading spiking off the scale. The ice had split open, revealing a cavern glowing with warp light. Inside, demonic forms writhed, twisted shadows clawing their way into reality. "By the All-Father," whispered one of the wolves, "a demon pack in our world." Logan stared at the largest of them, a beast with horns of obsidian and flesh like molten tar. Its voice was a chorus of whispers, familiar and mocking. "We followed your scent, little wolf. Your rage calls to us across worlds." The wolves opened fire. Bolter rounds screamed into the darkness, detonating in geysers of gore. But for every demon they tore apart, more emerged. The air shimmered with unreality, and the warp rift widened. Ulfric shouted runes of banishment, his staff blazing with lightning. "Hold the line!" Logan didn't hesitate. He dove headlong into the fray, claws flashing, tearing through warp flesh that hissed and reformed. The demons shrieked, recognizing the signature of the thing that had torn them from their master's grasp. He fought like fury itself, no formation, no doctrine, just raw animal violence. Yet every motion was precise, efficient, born of centuries of killing. Still, as he carved through them, the whispers pressed harder. "You don't belong here, Logan. You never did. You're the Emperor's stray dog now." Something inside him snapped. The psychic energy surged, raw and primal. His claws burned with warp light, his roar echoing like a wolf god across the tundra. For a heartbeat, the demons recoiled, and then the light exploded outward, banishing them in a sphere of blinding radiance. When it was over, silence fell. The rift had closed. The wolves stared at him, weapons half lowered. Ulfric stepped forward, eyes wary. "That power," he said softly, "it is not the Emperor's, nor the warp's. It is something between." Logan was breathing hard, smoke curling from his fists. "Call it what you will, it's mine." Ulfric nodded slowly. "Then may Russ grant you strength, Clawed One, for you will need it soon." Because in the depths of the now quiet cavern, something pulsed, a single shard of black crystal, still humming with warp corruption, and in its reflection, Logan's eyes glowed, the color of Fenris's twin moons. He was changing, and not even his healing could stop it. The shard. They called it the Daemon Fang. To the wolves it was an omen, a fragment of the warp that refused to die, pulsing like a living heart beneath the ice. To Logan it was something worse. Every time he closed his eyes, he could feel it whispering his name. Ulfric and Einar studied it within the Fang's deepest vaults, runes glowing to contain its corruption. Even sealed, the crystal throbbed with unseen rhythm, as if mocking them. "It feeds on echoes of rage," Ulfric said grimly, "and there is one among us it knows too well." Logan scowled. "You mean me?" The rune priest nodded. "It calls to what you carry. You brought it here." Logan turned away. "I didn't ask to come here." "No one ever does. The galaxy has its own designs." The days that followed were uneasy. The wolves felt it too, tempers flaring, instincts running hot. Even the tame thunderwolves snarled without cause. The Fang itself seemed restless, as though the planet remembered the demon's scent. Then came the dreams. Logan dreamed of a great black wolf, its fur made of smoke, its eyes burning like dying suns. It stalked for a world of bones, dragging chains that glowed with Fenrisian runes, and behind it a mirror image: himself. Same claws, same fury, but twisted, monstrous, grinning with too many teeth. He woke with his claws buried in the wall. Ulfric stood in the doorway, rune staff dimly glowing. "The Fang calls. It is not done with you." Logan growled, "Then let's end it." They gathered a strike team: Logan, Ulfric, Einar, and a pack of Wolfguard. They would hunt the corruption to its source, the cavern where it was first found. The journey north was pure Fenrisian hell. Blizzards screamed across the tundra, ice cracking beneath their boots, wolves howling in the distance. The gunship dropped them on a ridge overlooking the ravine, and even from there they could see the faint crimson light leaking from the cracks below. Ulfric drew a circle of protection in the snow, muttering in low Gothic and the tongue of Fenris. The warp pushed back, a wind that wasn't wind, carrying whispers. "Come home, little wolf. We miss you." Logan's jaw clenched. He recognized the voice. It was the same mocking whisper from the demons he'd slain, a part of whatever nightmare followed him through the rift. He descended first. The wolves followed, bolters ready, auspexes humming. The cavern had changed. The walls pulsed with veins of living crystal, warp fire bleeding through the rock. At its heart floated the Fang, now grown, fed by psychic resonance. As Logan approached, the whispers grew louder. "You don't belong among them. You belong to us. You were made in pain, born in blood, our kin across worlds." He gritted his teeth, resisting the urge to lash out, but the air shimmered and the shadows took shape. The demons were back. They came crawling from the cracks, their forms flickering, half real, their bodies stitched from psychic bile. At their center towered a new entity, the Daemon Fang given form, shaped like a colossal wolf with flesh of obsidian glass. Its jaws dripped warp energy, and its eyes burned with hellfire. Ulfric raised his staff. "By the All-Father's will!" Bolter fire thundered through the cavern. Logan charged. He hit the demon like a thunderbolt, claws tearing through its crystalline hide, warp ichor spraying like molten tar. The beast howled, shaking the cavern. The wolves fought in disciplined formation, overlapping fields of fire, chain blades roaring, voices raised in prayer. Competence made flesh. But for every blow struck, the demon struck harder. It moved with unnatural precision, feeding off Logan's fury. Every time he attacked, it mirrored him, matching claw for claw. Ulfric realized the truth first. It is his reflection. The Fang has become his shadow. Logan snarled, his breath steaming. Then I'll kill it the same way I've killed every other shadow I've had. He drove his claws deep into the demon's chest, but this time, instead of tearing it apart, the warp dragged him inward. Images flooded his mind, wars, deaths, the faces of every Nan he'd ever killed. It was showing him everything he was, every sin, every failure, every beastly instinct he'd ever buried. And then he saw the truth. He wasn't fighting a demon. He was fighting himself.
the part of him that still believed he was nothing but a weapon. The demon's voice hissed in his mind, "You cannot be both wolf and man." Logan roared back, "Watch me." He let go of control, not to lose himself, but to accept it. The wolf wasn't his enemy, it was part of him. His psychic energy erupted, brighter than before, pure gold threaded with crimson. The warp flinched, the daemon fang shattered, screaming, its shards dissolving into fire and dust. Silence fell. Ulfric approached, eyes wide. "You've done what no mortal could, turned the curse of the helix into your strength." Logan knelt in the ash, panting, his claws steaming. "Guess I'm getting the hang of this whole wolf thing." Einar laid a hand on his shoulder. "You've earned your saga, Clawed One, but remember, every saga ends and every legend leaves a shadow." As they returned to the Fang, the storm cleared. For the first time in years, Fenris's sky shone clear and cold, its moons bright. But Ulfric watched Logan silently. In the priest's mind, one question echoed like a tolling bell. If the rift had called one warrior from beyond the stars, how many more could answer?
They sang his name in the halls of the Fang, not as an outsider anymore, but as a wolf brother, a warrior who had survived trial, curse, and demon alike. The Clawed One had earned his saga. And yet, Logan never felt less at peace. Weeks passed since the destruction of the demon Fang. The warp rift had been sealed for now, but its shadow lingered in dreams and whispers. The wolves feasted, drank, and laughed, yet some of them still woke screaming in the night. Even the great wolves of Ossaheim paced their dens, restless. Logan knew that feeling too well. The calm before another storm. He spent his days training alongside the Wolf Guard, honing his instincts to match their discipline. His healing factor and ferocity gave him an edge, but what truly earned their respect was his focus, the way he thought in battle. Strategy and savagery married perfectly. During one combat simulation, he led his squad against 3 automated dreadnought drones. They expected brute force. Instead, he used terrain and timing, sliding between ice formations, flanking with flawless precision, dismantling the machines piece by piece. When the last drone fell, Einar clapped a gauntleted hand on his shoulder. "You'll fight like one of Russ's own sons." Logan smirked. "Don't tell your Primarch that. I bite." Laughter broke through the smoke. Even among demigods, humor survived. But that night, when the fires dimmed and the mead turned bitter, Ulfric came to him. "The warp storm stirs again," said the rune priest. "It watches you, Logan. You have become a scar across its veil. It will not forget." Logan lit a cigar, an ancient habit he refused to abandon. "Yeah, well, I've made worse enemies." "The Fang's augurs show fluctuations," Ulfric continued. "Something is hunting from the other side, searching for the thread that pulled you through. Then I'll cut that thread before it finds me." Ulfric studied him for a long time. "Would you? You have the pact now. You have a place here." Logan exhaled smoke, eyes reflecting the firelight. "You wolves fight for duty, for the Emperor, for Russ. Me? I fight because I don't know how to stop." The storm came 3 days later.
It began with a tremor beneath the fang, a low hum that rippled through every rune-sealed wall. Then came the voices, faint at first, then deafening, a psychic howl echoing across Fenris. Warped lightning split the sky. Demonic signatures bloomed like fire on the auspex. From the ruins of the northern glaciers, an army clawed its way into real space. Led by a new abomination, a warp creature wearing a face that looked almost human. Almost his. Ulfric's eyes widened. The shadow he banished has found form. Logan tightened his gauntlets, claws sliding free with a metallic rasp. Guess it didn't take the hint. The wolves mobilized instantly. Thunderhawk screamed through the storm. Logan joined them without hesitation, bolter strapped to his back, chain blade on his hip, and claws ready for blood. The battle was chaos incarnate. Snow turned red, bolter shells lighting the night like thunder. The wolves fought as one, chanting prayers to the All-Father as they tore through warp spawn. Logan was everywhere at once, a blur of motion, claws slicing through demonic flesh, his healing knitting wounds faster than any Medicae could track. But the mirror demon, the thing wearing his face, would not die. It hunted him through the blizzard, their every clash sending shock waves through the frozen ground. "We are the same," it hissed, parrying his strike with its own claws of black flame. "Watch me," Logan growled, plunging his claws deep into its chest. Warp energy detonated like a small sun. The explosion swallowed them both. When the light faded, the battlefield was silent. The demons were gone. The storm had broken. And where Logan had stood, only scorched ground remained. A crater still smoking in the snow. Ulfric and Einar searched for hours, but found nothing. No body, no trace. Only his shattered dog tags fused into the ice. Some said he had been consumed by the warp. Others whispered he'd walked back through the rift, hunting the demon's kin across realities. But on cold nights, when the wind howled over Assaheim, the wolves swore they could hear another voice, a lone howl echoing from the mountains, fierce and defiant. And sometimes, when a space wolf returned from battle, scarred but alive against impossible odds, the wolf priests would murmur the same words. "The Clawed One watches over us still."
Legends in the Imperium fade quickly. Records are lost, archives corrupted, memories rewritten by the tide of war. But among the space wolves, certain sagas endure, passed by word, not ink. One such tale is of the stranger who fell from the stars, who fought the warp itself and tamed the beast within. They say he was neither man nor Astartes, neither servant of the Emperor nor creature of chaos, but something between. A reminder that even in a galaxy of gods and monsters, humanity's spirit can still defy the abyss. The Fang keeps one relic sealed beneath its vaults, a broken set of metal claws, still humming faintly with energy that no mechanicus can identify. When storms rage hardest, they say those claws sing, and the wolves of Fenris howl back. Whether Logan still walks the stars or sleeps in the snow, none can say. But his saga remains, carved in runes and blood. For in the darkness of the 41st millennium, even a lone wolf can change the fate of worlds.